All aboard!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Woodsman Wack-off, the series that puts two woodsmen face to face to see which competitor can whack off their log the fastest. In this episode, we're facing off with two big old Wiener Schnitzels, the Stihl 500i and the Makita 7910. At this point, the 500i needs no introduction. It is a 79cc fuel-injected creamsicle. And like most new Stihl products, the hype is phenomenal and everyone is interested to see how high the new standard has been set. But often when tested, we find out that the excitement around the shiny new toy is often misleading. Just like the Stihl, this here Makita hails from the land where men climb pigs and win World Cups. That's a reference to this guy. He's German. Anyway, back to the chainsaws. The 7910 also brings 79 cc's of displacement, but without any highfalutin fuel injection to worry about. Just a good old-fashioned carburetor setup. This model is stock, with the exception of a simple muffler mod. Who's the operator capable of handling these two hefty whackers at the same time? You guessed it, Soft Hand Steve. Soft Hand Steve went solo to his senior prom and still talks about it to this day. Now let's watch him whack off with double penetration. Alright, there they are. Steve saying hi to his mom. The other Steve saying hi to his mom. Woo! Look at the excitement on his face. He loves getting the opportunity to run these big whackers. Woo! Let's go. Let's put them in the wood. Here we go, and they're revving them up and getting ready for the gentle slide down the shaft. And it looks like it's pretty close. Oh my goodness, that is a dead nuts tie, fellas. Here we go, now for the tug up. Here's where the torque is going to start shining on these machines. Oh my god, you see that Makita take off? Woo! Look at that. And for the vice grip, digging them in, forcing them through. Ooh, the 500i gets hesitates a little bit, but that 7910 is just muscling through that red oak. Whoa! Did not see that one coming, fellas. Whew, look at that.
All kidding aside, man, that's a fast saw. That is a fast saw.
I guess it's not as fast as the 7900, huh, Steve? Anyway, so there we go. We got the 7910 clearly takes the win, and let's see what Bodie has to say about it. Oh, did we see that coming, fellas? Some of you guys probably did. You probably saw that coming. And wow, that was, I didn't expect it. Let me tell you, I ran those saws. In case you are confused, that's actually me playing the role of Soft Hand Steve. I know I look a lot cooler than he does, but it was actually me. So, yeah, I would have never guessed that. Now, that doesn't mean that I had any thoughts whatsoever of that Makita being slow. No, that's a fast saw. I knew it from the get-go. I just didn't think that it was as fast as that 500i. That 500i really cuts well. It really does. But, you know, the excitement around it, it is a good feeling saw. It feels great. It feels fantastic to run. But in this situation, that Dolmar / Makita has been around for a long time. I'm not exactly sure when it came out, but I think it's been out for a good 10 years plus, maybe. It's been out for a long time. And then all of a sudden, the Stihl 500i, all this hoopla about it. And it's a great saw. It really is. It's a really great saw. Like, I think that thing would be a fantastic saw for $1,000. but it's not. It's 14 to 1500 bucks, and where I'm at, they're hard to come by. They really are. They're not always on the shelves. But then again, neither is that Makita. There's not many dealers in the United States for the Dolmar / Makita brand, and we're fixing to see that come to an end if it hasn't already. So anyways, yeah, I shocked by that. They both were wearing the exact same chain. The Stihl went first, and then right after it was the Makita. So there is no issue whatsoever of chain sharpness being a factor in this, because if anything, the Stihl had the better setup because it was had been used the least whenever it ran. So same chain. That Makita revs, they were even dead nuts. I even backed it up in my editing software and checked, and no, it was straight up a complete and total tie on that first gentle glide down the shaft. And so I felt no need to go back and slow it down and stuff. But whenever it came to the torque and I was pulling up the tug up, clearly the Makita just walked away from it. And then with the dogs a-barking on the vice grip, again, the Makita just blew it away. And, it's easy to look at that and go, well, if the Stihl hadn't stumbled whenever I was dogging it in, then it would have been a closer race. Yep, it would have. I lost some time there. But you know what? That was the second time that I did it with the Stihl. Right? The first time, it stumbled even worse. So whenever you're dogging it in like that, it's a real test of the torque. It is a real test of the torque. And if a saw can actually just knuckle down and get through that, that's saying something. And for those of you guys that are new to the channel and you're just now watching this, what I do is I run everything on these wack-offs in a 14-inch by 14-inch square red oak cant. These are trees that come down on my property, and portions of them are saved for doing these wack-off competitions. It's always red oak. It's a good hard wood, and it's nothing like you poor Australians down there with your iron butt or wood, iron trees, eucalyptus and stuff. My God, you guys have some hard wood. And that's not a compliment. That would be terrible to have to cut that all the time. It just would. I'm envious. I'm very envious of the guys out west. And there's places on the East Coast too that are dealing with large, like white pines and stuff like that. And whenever you've got those softwoods, you got the big cedars, you got the big Doug fir. Doug fir is harder than regular pine or just pine in general. I know, I get that, but it is not this red oak. It's about half as hard as what I'm putting these saws through right here. So whenever you see videos of these guys, I like to watch them too. This is not a knock. I am not knocking anyone. But whenever you see videos of guys running a 28-inch bar on an old 57cc saw, and they're going through Doug fir, and it's like, wow. And I know I mentioned this before, but I get new viewers all the time. And but the deal is those saws do not cut the way that they are portrayed in these videos. I do not have access to a 30-inch Doug fir or cedar to dig my bars into. I do have access, however, to this red oak, and it's so much harder. It's so much harder. So literally, my 14 by 14 red oak can't. Oh, and also round 14 inches is considerably less material than square 14 inches. All right, it is considerably less. But anyways, this 14 by 14 red oak cant would be similar to cutting 26 inches, 28 inches maybe, of round pine or Doug fir or cedar. That stuff is fun to cut. I wish I had more of it to cut because I've got a sawmill. I would be making lumber, but I don't have many of those on my property. I've got hardwood stands, man. That's pretty much what I have. And so that's what I use for the wack-offs. But it is misleading, terribly misleading, whenever, and nobody's doing anything wrong. I can make that clear. Nobody's doing anything wrong. But it is terribly misleading whenever you're like me. You live in a place where you have nothing but hardwood stands and you're making firewood out of your hardwood or whatever it is you're doing. And you go out and you purchase a cool, they are very cool, old Promac, old Poland, you name it, old whatever. And you're thinking, yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to run a 28-inch bar on this, just like I seen on YouTube, and it's going to cut. It just doesn't work out that way, guys. I can remember I was so disappointed whenever I first got my first Promac, and it was a 55, and it was great. I loved it. It was so enjoyable to run. It really was. But it just was so incapable of doing what I had seen so many times over and over again on various different YouTube channels. And so I was like, damn. We all know what a 455 Rancher is. We know that it's a good saw. It is a good, solid saw for anybody to use. But they're nothing special at all. They're just a plain Jane 55cc saw. And the one that I had was actually the Johnson Red version. It was called the 2255. And my Promac would get beaten by that regularly. And so I'm like, well, I don't understand. Whenever I was new to this, I was just like any of you newbies out there or any of you experienced people out there. At one time, we were all new to this. And I'm trying to point out that a lot of stuff just doesn't hold water. I mean, it's like, that just doesn't, that's no. And on top of it, you got a lot of people that are just phenomenal at sharpening chains. There's no easier way to make your chainsaw fast than being really good at sharpening chains. So anyways, so that's enough of that. The 7910, wow. I can't wait now to put it up against the ported Echo 7310 that I did. Because my ported 7310 beat the Stihl pretty handily. This Domar beat the Stihl 500i, we're talking, pretty handily. And so I'm going to have to put those boys head to head. Going to have the leading German take on the leading Japanese. So that'll be cool in the future. But we'll hold off on that a couple weeks because I'm going to do some with the 038. John had asked for this video as well as the 038 Magnum versus the Poland 245A. And yeah, I'll match those up. That's good. They're right there at the same CC level, close. I think the Poland, I think, is 76 cc's. The Magnum, I'm not sure. The 038, I want to say the 038 was 72 cc's, so the Magnum must be bigger. But then I go, no, Magnum was as big as it was, and big as it was 72 cc's. I'm uncertain. I look up the specs best I can online, usually Mike Akers' site, and gives me the specs and everything. Now, with this little race done, I have ran that Makita with a long bar, and it pulls it great. So I think that any which way you put it, a short bar, a long bar, that Makita is going to outperform the Stihl 500i in stock trim. And now that brings a good point. The Makita does have a muffler mod on it. But I know the way he did the muffler mod. He just drilled out a hole. He just removed the top exhaust port, like shield, deflector, whatever it is, and like drilled it out as best he could, just like everybody does with a simple muffler mod. That's all it is. And the damn things run rich. You can hear it in the video. You guys may not be able to hear it so much because I got it turned down so much, but it's running fat. It's really easy to be a viewer and go and sit back and think like, well, why didn't you just lean it out? You knew it was running rich. Listen, man, whenever you've got those guys who were throwing saws at me, they were great. Barry, Randy, Aaron, thank you guys. They really helped out. They brought these saws in, allowed me to test them, and they were right there, Johnny on the spot, swapping the chains and bars out for me. I didn't have to do anything but act like a dork in front of the camera. And it was freaking wonderful. But it was happening so fast, and I've only got so much wood. So I hate doing cuts for any kind of test purposes. So I try and test in pine to get it to cut right. And then I take it to the oak. Well, I didn't really have time to do this because we were doing so many. That video is called The Circle Jerk of Madness. If you want to see that full video, it's over an hour long of nothing but cut. We ran all sorts of saws. And so we did a lot in a small amount of time. And I didn't have time to perfectly set that up, the Makita. The Stihl, on the other hand, that is the one glorious thing about the new fuel systems that are coming on these saws. Husky has their auto-tune. Stihl has, what do they call theirs? M-tronic. And this one here is actually fuel injected. So it's going to be running as good as it can run. So that's very nice. But with that Makita, it definitely needed to be leaned out a little bit. But I also kind of think that it's like my Timberwolf. My Timberwolf runs fat as heck. Even with the jet mod that I did to it, I can't quite get that thing to lean out just with the revs. Maybe that Makita has a rev limiter on it, and that's why whenever I'm revving it and stuff, it's just bouncing off the limiter. Maybe. I tend to think it was running a little bit lean, though. But regardless, it still beat the 500i. And good deals can still be found on those saws. They're excellent saws. And if you're looking for the best 80cc saw, I'd say that one's probably it. Another one, though, that I have not introduced to the mix yet, just because, I'm not holding anything back. It's just the way these things are rolling out. Barry brought a 395 XP, as well as the 375 XPW. Now, if you watch the channel, you've heard me talk about that 375 before. That thing screams. And the only thing he has on that has done to that is a muffler mod. It runs so good. It would not shock me at all if it hangs right in there with the Makita 7910. Really, that thing was fast. Very impressed with that saw. The 395 was great too, but at one point, like, he asked me, you know, because he's proud of it. It's a nice saw. The 395 is a really nice saw, okay? But he's like, what'd you think of the big girl or whatever? I don't know, you know? And I was like, I think that if I didn't have the 592, the Husqvarna 592, I'd be screaming, yeah! But whenever I ran the 395, it was immediately after I had just ran my 592. And that 592, that thing is a great saw. I mean, it just is great. So, just filling in the ramble here, you know, so the big saws that I've ran, you know, I still own my 3120. I haven't sold it or anything. I can't kind of bring myself to get rid of it. So I got a 3120. I've got the 592 XP. I had a 2100 CD. I have ran the 500i. I've ran 395. I've ran the 7910, the 7310, 372s galore. I've ran a lot of big saws. There ain't nothing as impressive as that 592. That 592 is just awesome. It is so nice. It doesn't have the torque to pull a really, really long bar like a 3120 does. It doesn't even have quite as much torque, I think, as the 2100, the Husky 2100. But, oh, and I've ran plenty of 660s. I haven't thrown that one out there either, I don't think. But whenever you are comparing these big saws, I've got the experience now. You know, 2 years ago, I did not. And so anything that I would say about a big saw, you know, it would have been just horse shit, really. You know, but now I've ran them a lot. And that 592 is great. Great! So if you're looking for a big felling saw, I got that thing. I didn't get it with a bar. I did not get it with a bar. And it was less than $1,300. And it is just such a nice machine. So this video turned the corner. But that's what happens when you ramble. And I'm a rambler. I'm just a rambling man. Gambling man. I like Bob Seger. He's awesome. Anyways, Soft Hand Steve. He likes Air Supply, Chicago. That kind of stuff. Anyways, that's enough, I suppose. I hope you guys liked the wack-off. The double penetration. Did you catch that? Oh, I love how this gives me a platform just to be as stupid as I want. See ya.